Hey everyone, welcome to Lachlan Likes a Thing, the show where I take a thing and see whether or not I like it. Now, by request, this video is going to be a sort of comparison and a sort of buying guide between 9 different earphones, and you can see that I've got them all wrapped around my neck like a natty cyberpunk scarf. This video will hopefully give you some ideas if you're thinking of buying a pair of earphones for someone as a gift these holidays. Now, I normally don't like comparing things based on price tiers because it leads to conclusions where some people might say that a cheaper product is not actually comparable with a more expensive product. But I know things are sort of different when you're buying presents for people, so I'm going to break this video down into 3 parts. I'm going to show you 3 $25 earphones, then I'm going to show you 3 $50 earphones, and then I'm going to show you 3 $100 earphones, or approximately around those prices. Anyway, I'm going to spend the next hour untangling these, and then let's jump right into the comparisons. So the first 3 earphones that I'm going to recommend can be found for something like $25 or less. And for $25, you might not naturally expect fantastic audio quality, but I gotta say that these are all community favorite earphones, and they've all somewhat surprised me with the kind of quality that you get for the price. Now, for $25, these would make good stocking stuffers, cheap gifts, maybe for kids who don't treat their gear all too well, or maybe just as spare backup pairs. Now, the first earphone that I'm going to show you is the Panasonic RP-HJE125, and there's also an RP-TCM125, which is basically the same earphone except with a microphone, so it's a headset for smartphones. Now, the TCM125 was rated as the best earphone that you could buy for under $25 by the Wirecutter. And I can sort of see why, because this earphone, which you can find for something like $15 on Amazon or $20 if you're in Australia, this earphone actually offers a pretty sort of all-round good sound for that price. Now, the bass is mushy, the treble is not exactly the cleanest thing in the world, but it's not too bad for the price. The main kind of problem I think with this earphone is that it does have pretty poor build quality. So you see you have these extremely thin wires, no strain release on anything. It's not something that inspires a great deal of confidence. But that said, as a cheap little stocking stuffer, it's a nice little earphone, and it comes in a number of different colors. So this should be easy to find in shops. And if you want a last-minute emergency gift, you might want to go for this. Now we have a similar sort of story with our next earphone, the Philips SHE3590. Now again, this is a cheap earphone. You can actually buy 2 of these for $20 in the Australian electronics store Dick Smith. So, definitely another good stocking stuffer. Again, I think that this earphone doesn't sound fantastic. This earphone was a sort of community favorite budget earphone around Headphone for a while. But it sounds okay. It's very mushy. The sound is definitely bassier than the Panasonic, and the treble is a little more forward and aggressive. But you really can't fault that price. Now, the one thing I really hate about this earphone is that, as you can see, the cable is absolutely just horrible. You can see how much memory that cable has. Again, the build quality isn't fantastic. But, what are you going to get? Now, the last earphone that I'm going to show you in this category is something of a unusual earphone. This is the Xiaomi Piston 2 from the mobile phone company in China. This earphone has become sort of a community favorite just because this is obviously a product that is being sold for way less compared to its competitors based on things like build quality and sound. The Xiaomi Piston 2 definitely has a nicer sound than the Panasonic or the Philips earphones that I just showed you. It's got more of a kind of exciting, fun sound. It has very forward mids, very forward vocals, so it might be a little irritating for some people, and the bass is very pronounced as well. So again, this is not going to be something for anyone who wants a neutral sounding earphone. But it is definitely a very capable earphone for the price. Now, the one thing that really bugs me about the Xiaomi is that the design is such that it's an all-metal design. It's really shiny and fantastic, and if you give this to someone, they'll think it cost a lot more than it actually did. The one problem is that this large barrel will possibly rub against your outer ear, so that might be painful, and I wouldn't buy this earphone for someone who has smaller ears. The other thing about this earphone is that there's a big port on the back, and so noise isolation is not really that great at all. So again, I wouldn't buy this earphone for someone who is going to wear it a lot for traveling or anything like that. But other than that, and one other thing is that there's a lot of fakes floating around of this earphone, and it's actually quite hard to find in sort of retail availability, unlike the Panasonic and the Philips. So, you might end up with a fake. There's an Amazon store which says it sources its products directly from Xiaomi, but they are not going to be able to deliver. At the time I'm making this video, they're not going to be able to deliver by Christmas. So you kind of have to, roll the dice a little with this earphone. One word of advice is if anyone offers you a price lower than $22 on this earphone, they are most probably fakes. And I would check around on the internet to see if you can find sellers that are able to pretty much be verified by the community. So now we're moving into the $50 territory, and this price point actually really excites me because for around this price, or maybe just a little bit more, we're starting to see some really, really nice products come out. And I'm going to show you 3 earphones that I'm very happy to recommend at this price point. So the first earphone that I'm going to show you for around $50 is a really great sounding earphone that has a really awkward name. This is the Zero Audio Carbo Tenore, and that's not a spelling mistake. These are called the Carbo Tenore ZH DX200 CT, and this is from a somewhat unknown company in Japan. These are $40, or if you're in Japan, you can get them for 3,380 yen, which is roughly around $30. And for that price, these are absolutely stellar. Now, I'm pretty excited about these. I only started listening to them about a day ago, so you should take my first impressions with a grain of salt, but I feel very positive about these earphones. They have sort of a warmer than neutral sound. They have a bass response, which is I personally really enjoy because they have quite a lot of sub bass, so just very low, deep, tight bass without too much mid bass. Overall, they are warmer than neutral, and they do have a bit of a smooth over high section, but overall, I think they make for really good all-rounders. My only problem with this earphone for this price is that the build quality is just, the actual earpieces themselves are nice. I think they're made of carbon fiber and aluminium, but the actual strain reliefs seem pretty bare bones. The cable itself is, as you can see, extremely thin, and the actual plug on the other end is just, I think this is poorly designed in terms of durability. Other than that though, I think that these are a really good option even to own for yourself. Or as a nice gift for someone, so I will recommend these. So next up is the Audio-Technica ATH IM50, and this earphone is something that I just had a first impressions video of recently. Now, this earphone is undoubtedly, for a $60 earphone, a really nicely built earphone, and as a gift for someone, it would be very, very impressive. We have, nice detachable cables, which I'm going to show you on, there we go. We have this nice detachable cable mechanism. The actual build itself is really good and really nice cables, etc., etc. Got a nice design. It is a little large, and for some people with smaller outer ears, this may look a bit awkward, but overall, it's just a really nicely built earphone. Now, in terms of sound, this earphone is a little bit different than some other earphones that are around this category. I actually think, in terms of sound, it's quite nice. I don't like it as much as the Zero Audio earphone, just because in terms of bass, this earphone has quite a lot of mid bass, so it's got this kind of mid bassy sort of sound for kind of like the upper registers, particularly around male vocals and that kind of thing. But there's not actually a great deal of lower bass in terms of sub bass, so it doesn't actually sound all that punchy. The bass actually sounds quite slow and a little sloppy on this earphone. That said, it doesn't sound bad, it just sounds not as good when I compare it directly with the Zero Audio. This earphone, the one kind of music kind of thing that I would recommend this for is this earphone really excels with female vocals, or vocals in particular, as like most Audio-Technica earphones. So if someone you know listens to a lot of pop music, this is the earphone that I would suggest for them because it really does deliver quite nicely in the vocal regions. Now the last earphone they're going to show you in this price category is the VSonic VSD3S. And this is actually a favorite earphone of mine for some time now. Now this earphone is from the Chinese company VSonic. It is a rich, kind of bassy sounding earphone, much bassier and much more kind of forward and sort of aggressive in sound than the the Zero Audio or the Audio-Technica that I just showed you. So this is definitely not going to be for someone who wants a neutral sound. This is going to be something that I think a lot of people will still enjoy anyway. It's a fun sort of big bombastic sound. And it has a number of nice features, including the e-guides, the detachable cable, a nice negative profile fit, which offers quite good noise isolation. The complaints that I have about this earphone are that, the strain relief on the actual plug itself is not all that great. And the e-guides themselves are very, very fussy. As you can see, they're just constantly falling off. So this is an earphone that I would not get for someone who has big ears, because they are really large earpieces and they won't fit in people's outer ears if they have small ears. And if they are a fussy sort of person who will get easily frustrated by these ear guides, and I myself am a somewhat fussy person, so I get quite irritated by these ear guides when I use the earphones, but once it's all, kind of set up and good to go on your ears, they are a really good option, especially if you're going to go commuting with these. So when you wear them on the train or anything like that, they do have a nice design, blocks out a lot of noise, and this is one of the better earphones in this category. Now the last category of earphones that I'm going to show you is $100 earphones, and I am absolutely very happy to show you $100 earphones because I think that this is the sweet spot as far as earphones go. This is actually, I tell most people nowadays that you only want to spend around $100 on a pair of earphones, and there are a lot of really, really nice options, and I'm going to show you 3 of them. So the first product I'm going to show you for around this price is the Shure SE215. And this is actually the special edition of the SE215 that I have here. And you can buy this earphone for around $99. Now, I'm going to say this earphone has sat at the top of my recommended earphones over at my website for quite some time. And simply put, if you have $99 to spend and you don't know anything at all about the person that you're buying the earphones for, beyond the fact that they listen to music and you think that they should have a nicer pair of earphones, this is the pair of earphones that I would buy. And it's not because I think that they actually sound that great, and I've actually put sound in the minus category here for this earphone, because I actually think for the price, they actually don't sound as good as some of the other $100 earphone options, or even as good as some of the other $50 earphone options like the Zero Audio. It has a really rich kind of sound. It's somewhat a bit too rich for some people. It's a bit like dark chocolate. So it is a really rich mid-bassy sort of sound. But the reason why I so recommend this earphone is because it is, number one, a really well-designed earphone. We have some really nice cables on this earphone, nice detachable cables with really, really substantial strain reliefs. A really nice 90-degree jack on this end. And also the comfort on this earphone is really, really great. So we have a nice smooth shell that's going to fit in the outer ear. I actually take this earphone with me whenever I go traveling because you can sleep on your side with this earphone, and it's also going to block out a lot of noise because it has a good design for noise isolation. So this is the sort of earphone, if you buy it for someone, they will kind of, I reckon, sort of treasure it because it will last some time. It is really, really comfortable and really practical, And Shure is a very big name in terms of warranty support or anything like that. It's definitely going to be one of the better companies to deal with. So this is the earphone that I would go for if you're you don't have that much of an idea of what the person wants, but you want to buy something safe. This is the safest choice. The second $99 earphone I'm going to show you is the VSonic GR07. Now this is absolutely a community favorite earphone because it offers such really exceptional sound quality at now what is an incredibly low price for the sound. So I think this earphone sounds fantastic. I don't think it's quite as practical in terms of design as the Shure SE215. It doesn't offer quite as much noise isolation. The comfort isn't quite as good, although it does have this swiveling nozzle mechanism, as you can see here. But it's got a sound that is just really detailed. It's a really, it's just a good earphone for anyone who you reckon is going to appreciate, sort of like an audiophile sound, I guess. The build quality itself is all quite nice on this earphone. The one thing that I would hesitate with when buying this earphone for someone is that it's entirely possible that they'll find the treble response on this earphone somewhat a bit too forward, because it does have just a little bit of a spike in the treble that some people might find irritating, and it's going to be very hard for you to predict if a given person is going to be sensitive to that treble region. So that is something that you might want to note. Other than that though, this is an earphone that I reckon has ranked near the top of the charts for earphones on Headphone, at least for quite some time now, and I reckon that's for a very well-deserved reason. Now the last earphone that I'm going to show you today is the Yamaha EPH100 SL, and this is the earphone that I personally, I'm sorry, you can see that I've drawn my finger there with a black marker. Anyway, this earphone is the earphone that I probably use most in a daily sort of basis. So I really like this earphone. This is an earphone that's definitely not like the Shure, which the Shure is very sleepy sounding. This is more of a fun, exciting sounding earphone. It's got a really chunky bass response without bleeding too much into the mid bass. And it's also got a very excitable sort of treble response. So this is going to be an excellent earphone for anyone who really likes pop music, who really likes electronic music, anything like that. I really like the sound of this earphone, and I think the other thing I love about this earphone is that the earpieces are very lightweight. They're nicely built, as you can see here. They are, I believe, nickel-plated brass. I forgot the exact materials used in this earphone, but they are very lightweight. And it's a nice casual earphone to have around. It costs around $120, which is a little higher than this price category, and I wouldn't say that necessarily makes it better than the VSonic or the Shure SE215. It's different strokes for different folks, really. One thing that I will say about this earphone is that the actual nozzle itself is quite thick, so for some people, it might not be comfortable. That's something that you have to watch out for. And the other thing is that for an earphone of this price, some of these strain reliefs, like for instance here, they're a little more delicate than I would really like. But I have had this earphone for a long time, and I have used it for quite a long time, and I haven't encountered any build problems. So I'm still pretty happy to recommend it on that basis. So hopefully you found this video helpful. Obviously I couldn't go into that much detail with each earphone, so if you do have specific questions, feel free to pop them in the comments, and I will have links in the description of this video to some of the other reviews that I've done of these earphones. Please let me know also in the comments if you enjoyed this particular format for the videos, because I'm thinking of doing a similar sort of thing for headphones. And if you found this video helpful, click the like button, and please consider popping a tip in the tip jar or pledging on Patreon, because contributions from viewers like you help me keep making these videos, and a number of the earphones that I showed you here today were actually purchased with the help of you guys. So thank you again to everyone who helped out that way. Anyway, you can talk to me on Facebook at facebook.com/LachlanLikesAthing, or on Twitter at lock likes a thing. Thanks to all my regular subscribers. I hope you have a safe and happy holidays and a Merry Christmas, or whatever other holidays you may celebrate during this time, and happy listening.